The whole strategic plan development process has been divided into 3 stages.
We started with a kind of a survey from where we picked up points to discuss about the key issues and the gaps that we are having in the region.
And then the second was the 2 days strategic planning workshop that happened in Bangkok. So in these 2 days, we invited all our regional stakeholders and key partners. We also invited our country representatives who are also our board members.
We had people from Southeast Asia, we had people from South Asia.
A lot of us those that were attended, basically, there was a lot of discussion back and forth to try to identify all the issue in other country.
Almost all the participants were able to give very valuable inputs.
It was a fairly structured process. People had thought about what they wanted to get out of it, and they were very interested in getting more details around, how ANPUD would have more visibility, how ANPUD would grow as an organization, how ANPUD would be looking in 5 years from now, how ANPUD could be more effective. So a lot of planning went into it.
Being a former executive board member, I was part of the strategic planning process before also, and as a member also, and what I felt is ANPUD for this strategic planning process has come a long way, and it was really more participatory and it was really unique.
I enjoyed it. People were frank, people were able to disagree, but without getting too emotional about anything.
It has never been easy to discuss on the issues of drugs with diverse issues, to discuss diverse advocacy agenda, and in particular the countries in this Asian Pacific, each and every countries are unique. Though I think this strategic plan is able to galvanize all the efforts, all the issues of diverse countries into one.
It was more interactive and it was very precise. It has captured all of the essence of the Asian drug users community's voices.
We also had very different perspectives from the partners who, some of the partnership agencies were representing different agendas, but were bringing sort of commonalities to the conversation.
And there will be a 3rd stage where we will be sharing the draft framework of the overall strategic plan to all our individual members for their feedbacks and comments. So we have been trying this whole process to be as inclusive as possible.
I think the strategic plan is very focused compared to the previous plans where ANPUD was trying to do a lot of things with very limited capacity. This strategic plan takes into consideration that ANPUD does have a very specific role, that the secretariat, the national networks, as well as the community membership organizations have some advantages, but they also have some limitations.
I personally like the 3 strategic objectives, I think, which revolves around mainly at the advocacy and communication knowledge management hub and network strengthening at the regional level, at the country level also.
This time around we have been able to very explicitly strategize our priorities and objectives around human rights, access to health, and then advocacy is around some of the key areas which are affecting our community in the region.
Drug law reform seems to be the major barrier for most of the other areas of work that we do, and the constituency that we represent is also mostly affected because of this unfair or unjustified war on drugs, which is an outcome of the drug law. So I think this is an area that needs very much urgent attention, especially in our region.
The new strategic plan focuses on how to humanize the issues of people who use drugs in the region we are working here. The South and Southeast Asian regions are considered one of the regions where the harshest, the most punitive drug laws are being implemented.
What I really feel important is the issue that surrounds women, which were discussed during the group work, and it was also presented.
Everyone agreed and accepted that we need to improve the communication, not the way from down to up to down, more from down to up.
I would say that it has a great emphasis on the advocacy, and then it has a great emphasis around communication systems and mechanisms. We have been discussing around how do we communicate with the national networks, with the individual members.
In the past, it seems like partners and members of the network were struggling with being on the ground and not having the toolkit available to them to know how to handle crises and to even know how to reach and how to advocate members of the community. So I think what we got out of this workshop is really that there's going to be more of a focus on sharing this information and on having scheduled meetings and e-updates so that the network will feel more like a network.
We are broadening our scope of knowledge hub, and then we want to reach out to all other stakeholders and key partners beyond our community of people who use drugs. We want to deliver the message that this is how you should be talking to, or this is how you can support the community of people who use drugs as an individual or as the organization of people who use drugs. So there are people out there who wants to help people who use drugs and their organizations but do not know how to do that, or there are people out there who do not support people who use drugs and their organizations just because they do not know the issue.
Some new areas of work are expanding the networks, so bringing in countries with high need, countries where there is a real issue around advocacy.
We are talking about capacity development in the forms of network strengthening, in the forms of strengthening the secretariat.
What I also like about the new strategic plan is that we are focusing on individual and organizational members of ANPUD. We are focusing on how to empower individual members. How do we empower them so that they can protect themselves from the human rights violations they face each and every day as we speak here right now.
So the capacity building part, where it was inclusive of individuals also, where like women or young people needs to be built, their capacity needs to be built, and also creating platforms for them.
Moving forward towards having more national network of people who use drugs in the region, and then ensuring that we have a much better way of two-way communication back and forth with the community, national network, and the secretariat.
Moving forward, looking at resource mobilization in a different way, trying to diversify our resources is going to be an important and challenging task for the Secretariat as well.
In the past, the focus has been very much on HIV, on harm reduction, and hepatitis C. And these are still critical issues, but there is an understanding that we have to be looking at this in a much more broader, rights-based approach to human rights as well as to health.
This is very important time. We are seeing the signals of a change in different parts of the world. We are seeing the models of change in different parts of the world and the effect or the impact. So we have the evidence to our theory that the drug war is failing, and it was non-evidence-based, non-scientific, very politically motivated, biased kind of a policy that we had been implementing for the past, and it has only done harm to the world. So this is the time where this dialogue is happening and the change is happening, and it's the time that we are here in the right side of the history, I should say.
So I see ANPUD in the next 3 years as continuing to grow, attracting a lot of donor confidence, taking on some of the very difficult issues that have not been addressed so very well so far, including decriminalization, including drug policy issues, drug law reform issues, and making sure that they are connected to drug users all over Asia, genuinely connected to drug users all over Asia.
I see a lot of opportunity for the organization in terms of expanding our work in the region, ensuring more visibility, the kind of work we do for our community. And then I also see the huge opportunity in terms of scaling of both the human and the financial resource of the organization, so that the strategic priorities which we have been able to identify, we are in a position to carry that forward.
I think the next couple of years are going to be really important for ANPUD. Now that we have the new strategic plan that is more focused, more detailed and more actionable, and because it is developed with a very inclusive process, there is a lot of expectation from ANPUD, from not only from the community of people who use drugs, but also from the regional stakeholders that we have involved in the whole process.
I personally would like to see the movement growing more and more and expanding in more countries and covering more Asian countries, other countries also. It's just that I don't want to see turning it into some NGOs giving some projects or, managing some projects.
Some of the areas are highly demanding. I mean, if we are looking into drug law reform, these are areas mostly people would not want to even discuss about in some of our countries. So I think most of them are achievable. Some of them are very challenging and we need to work more hard.
We have a country network, but it is not really structured, so we need that support from ANPUD to make it more structured and could expand our network in the community.
New people coming in, especially more women, not just in terms of representation, but in representation in like meetings or conferences, but also in the board. I see that.
I'm part of the ANPUD board now, and I feel that in the next 2 years we will have to communicate and be more transparent and be critical about each other, about the points and discussion, and then take a good, effective decisions.
As ANPUD Secretariat, I'm really committed to achieving all these activities and the goal we intend to achieve from this strategic plan and contribute to the overall goal of the organization. And we really need a lot of support from our stakeholders, from our country partners. And this is not just about organization, each individual who can support or can contribute, can make a difference.
When I look at how much progress has been made in the last 10 years, as somebody who's worked in this area, I find that the progress has been exceptional. To the extent that, if the same level of progress is kept up, then ANPUD can be a very, very influential network for people who use drugs, not just in Asia, but as a globally respected advocacy and networking organization.